Imagine a man torn between faith and reason, one of Jesus' 12 closest apostles, yet consumed by deep doubt. This was Thomas, the disciple whose hesitation became so renowned that it gave rise to the term Doubting Thomas. But what few people know is that Thomas lived an epic and moving journey of transformation, where the touch of the resurrected Jesus became just the first step toward a faith-filled path that would change history. In that instant, he went from skeptic to believer, but his journey didn't end there. Instead, it became the beginning of a mission that would lead him to distant and dangerous lands, facing challenges that would test his newfound faith and ultimately cement his role in spreading Christianity to the world. As we dive into this fascinating journey, you'll explore the inspiring and untold aspects of a man who moved from the shadow of doubt to the glory of divine certainty. Prepare to uncover surprising lessons of faith and courage that shaped this apostle's path and may still offer answers to your own spiritual uncertainties and challenges. Thomas, known in Christian tradition as the doubting disciple, is a fascinating figure whose doubt, rather than a weakness, symbolizes a search for authenticity and truth. Before his transformation through seeing the resurrected Christ, Thomas was deeply pragmatic, rational, and even skeptical. In several gospel passages, he expresses a clear and realistic view of the events around him, such as when he questions Jesus about the way to the Father, revealing a genuine desire to grasp the essence of faith. You can almost feel the weight of his doubt, a blend of distrust and a deep hunger for something that truly made sense. He didn't settle for simple explanations or blind acceptance. Thomas sought proof, a confirmation that all of this was indeed real. Then came the moment of great transformation. After the crucifixion and Jesus' first appearance to the disciples, Thomas wasn't present. When the others told him they'd seen the Lord, he responded directly and firmly, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands and put my finger into the nail marks and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." John 20:25. Thomas's request is a plea for tangibility, something many of us can relate to. It's an expression of humanity and vulnerability that few would dare reveal, especially when it comes to faith. And here begins a journey that symbolizes, for many, the struggle between doubt and genuine belief. 8 days later, Jesus returned, this time with Thomas present. In an unexpected gesture, Jesus didn't rebuke him, but instead answered his plea. "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." John 20:27. Thomas, in the face of this direct and loving response, melted in adoration and humility, proclaiming the famous words, "My Lord and my God." This moment marked not just a change in Thomas, but a paradigm shift. Faith was now about more than seeing. It was about a state of surrender. Jesus also added, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed," paving the way for all who, without tangible proof, choose to believe based on what the heart witnesses. This moment between Jesus and Thomas became a bridge between skepticism and genuine faith. After his transformative encounter with the resurrected Jesus, Thomas was filled with a newfound purpose and unwavering faith. Rather than staying within the familiar borders of Israel, he took on a daring mission, venturing eastward toward India, according to tradition. The thought of evangelizing in such distant, unfamiliar lands was intimidating for many, but for Thomas, this call became a beacon. He realized that his journey of faith needed to go beyond words. He had to take the gospel to the ends of the earth, where cultures and beliefs were entirely different. In India, his mission was to plant the seeds of Christ's love, despite knowing he would face rejection and hostility. Upon arriving in India, Thomas found himself in a society rich with ancient religions and deeply rooted traditions. He wasn't just a foreigner, he represented an unknown faith that many found incomprehensible. However, Thomas adopted a sensitive approach, learning about the local customs and beliefs before sharing Christianity. He sought common ground, using elements from Hinduism and Buddhism to introduce the gospel, emphasizing that Christ's message wasn't only for the West, but a universal truth. Gradually, his courage, humility, and determination began to attract the interest of locals, who eventually became followers. One of the most impressive aspects of his journey is that Thomas was known as a tireless worker. Rather than only preaching, he would often work side by side with the people, helping in construction projects, offering practical advice, and striving to understand the locals' ways. This hands-on approach left a profound impact, as people saw in Thomas a man who lived what he preached. He was not merely a preacher, but an inspirational figure who genuinely believed in the transformative power of Christ. He was willing to face hardships and even the prospect of death for his beliefs, and this approach fostered deep respect and admiration. As the years passed, Thomas continued to spread Christ's message across South India, especially in regions such as Kerala and Tamil Nadu, according to tradition. However, his growing influence began to attract not only followers, but also powerful adversaries. In a land rich with traditional beliefs, some saw Thomas as a threat to the established social and religious order. Stories of conversions and miraculous healings began to spread through villages and towns, unsettling local religious leaders who believed that this new faith could disrupt the cultural bonds that held their communities together. Determined to protect their traditions, these leaders took measures to undermine and discredit Thomas, attempting to turn the population against him. But Thomas, instead of retreating, used each encounter with opposition as an opportunity to strengthen his testimony. During one particularly challenging moment, he was asked to prove the power of his God in a public ritual. With fervent prayer, he experienced what witnesses would later describe as miraculous, leaving even his critics astonished. Through such experiences, Thomas's former reputation as the doubting apostle was replaced by that of an unshakable believer. His willingness to face ridicule, persecution, and even mortal danger impressed many who saw him as a true servant of Christ, dedicated to spreading the gospel regardless of the consequences. Throughout this period, Thomas formed a dedicated community of disciples from among the local people, the first Christians of India. He instructed them in the basics of Christianity, encouraged them to read the scriptures, pray together, and care for one another. These early believers became a beacon of hope, serving as living proof that the Christian faith could take root even in distant lands with vastly different cultures. Guided by Thomas, this fledgling community grew in both numbers and faith, forming the foundation of a unique Christian tradition that endures in India to this day. He taught his followers to embody the spirit of love, forgiveness, and compassion, core principles of Christianity that would stand as a living testimony to the power of faith. Over time, Thomas's mission in India began to draw not only followers, but also powerful opponents. In a society deeply rooted in ancient traditions, Thomas's growing influence was seen as a disturbance. Tales of conversions and healings circulated widely, sparking fear among local religious leaders who viewed Christianity as a threat to their cultural and social order. They saw Thomas as a figure capable of swaying large numbers of people, and so they launched efforts to tarnish his reputation. Rumors spread, and he faced persecutions, with some leaders even organizing ambushes to intimidate him into abandoning his mission. However, rather than deterring him, these confrontations seemed only to strengthen Thomas's resolve. He continued teaching his followers to love their enemies and to pray for their persecutors, citing Jesus' words, "Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." Matthew 5:44. This message became essential for the small Christian community he was leading, as they faced daily pressures and dangers. Thomas's own example of calm resilience was an anchor for his disciples, showing them that faith could withstand any trial if rooted deeply in love and humility. One night, Thomas was captured by hostile leaders who demanded that he renounce his faith to save his life. Standing before them, he could have saved himself, but instead, he chose to remain loyal to the mission God had given him. Echoing the courage found in the Apostle Paul's words, he declared that to live is Christ and to die is gain. Thomas knew his journey was nearing its end, but he also understood that the faith he had fostered in others would live on, even beyond his lifetime. With this conviction, he faced his fate, and his death became a powerful symbol of faith for his followers, a martyr's ultimate testament to the truth he had embraced so fully. Thomas's death brought a profound sense of loss to the early Christian community in India, who had come to see him not only as a teacher but as a spiritual father. His passing was a deeply painful moment, yet his words and example continued to echo in the hearts of those he had led to faith. Rather than viewing his death as a defeat, they saw it as the ultimate act of devotion, a powerful confirmation of the strength and sincerity of his beliefs. In that moment of apparent darkness, Thomas's faith became an even brighter light, solidifying a legacy that would endure far beyond his lifetime. His story of transformation, from skeptic to faithful martyr, became an inspiration to those struggling with their own doubts, reminding them that true faith could flourish even in the most challenging of circumstances. In time, the small Christian communities established by Thomas began to grow, particularly in Kerala, where they formed a unique tradition known as the St. Thomas Christians. Passed down through generations, this tradition honored the memory of the apostle as not only the founder of their faith, but also as a symbol of courage and dedication. For these early Christians, Thomas's story was more than a historical account. It was a living testimony to the power of seeking truth, facing fear, and trusting in God's purpose. They came to see him as a figure of perseverance, a man who had overcome inner and outer conflicts to spread the message of Jesus across distant lands. Today, 2 millennia later, the legacy of Thomas lives on, inspiring people across the globe who encounter doubt and yearn for faith. His story reminds us that doubt does not have to be a barrier, but can instead be a bridge to a deeper understanding. For countless believers, Thomas is a reminder that even those with the strongest reservations can find in Christ a source of unshakable certainty and purpose. His life offers a message of hope and resilience, encouraging all who struggle to face their uncertainties with courage and to trust that their search for truth can lead to a faith that endures. The story of Thomas leads us on an unexpected journey from deep doubt to unwavering faith, showcasing a man who lived his truth with authenticity and wasn't afraid to confront his uncertainties to find answers. His path was far from easy. He crossed borders, cultures, and faced fierce resistance, all while driven by a faith he needed to touch and feel to believe. Yet after accepting Jesus' call and setting out on his mission, Thomas became a pillar of courage and resilience, proving that faith isn't about having absolute certainty, but about trusting, even when answers seem distant. This same Thomas, who once asked for tangible proof, dedicated his life to offering living proof of God's love to distant peoples. His martyrdom, rather than marking an end, became a seed of faith that grew and flourished across generations. Today, his story continues to inspire millions around the world, particularly in places where Christianity faces challenges. Once labeled the doubting apostle, Thomas became a testimony to the transformative power of faith in Christ, leaving behind an invaluable lesson. Sincere doubt, when followed by an honest search, can lead to the most profound spiritual certainties. Thus, Thomas's legacy is not just a historical account, but an inspiration, reminding us that questions and uncertainties don't separate us from God, but can bring us closer to Him. His life stands as proof that even the most skeptical can find strength and purpose in Christ's love. May Thomas's story inspire us to face our own doubts with courage, turning them into opportunities for growth and divine connection. And like him, may we all journey from doubt to divine certainty, discovering the enduring promise of true faith. If this powerful journey of Thomas touched your heart, consider embracing his lesson in your own life. Remember, your doubts don't have to be obstacles. They can become stepping stones to a stronger, deeper faith. Hit the subscribe button to stay connected for more inspiring stories and teachings that can renew your spirit and bring new hope. Give this video a like to help more people discover this incredible journey of Thomas, and share it with friends or family members who might find encouragement in their own faith journey. Don't miss out on the suggested videos to keep exploring faith, inspiration, and transformation.